And we're live. What's up, Miguel?
Hey, what's up, Rudy? How you been?
All right, I'm doing great. Okay, Mendezville Live is back. I usually have a nice introduction and a little, whatever I created, but let's just go straight into it. Today I have Miguel. If you guys don't know Miguel Flores, he has his company Phoenix Consulting. But the backstory between me and him is that me and him went to junior high together at Memorial Middle School. We played football together. Then we went to freshman campus, and then you went your way, I went my way, and that happens. I taught my students in junior high that sometimes you're gonna go separate ways when you get to high school. We focus on different things, but here we are,
Back
20 years
at it.
later, right? About
Yeah.
20 years later.
Like maybe like five. I feel like five. Not
It
that long.
it doesn't feel like that long,
Yeah,
right?
no, and it's
No,
been super fast. But yeah, man, it's a great years. We spent that campuses playing football, soccer, even soccer. Remember those
I do remember playing soccer. I was terrible.
with Mr. Guerra, Coach Martin? Remember?
Yes, Coach Martin. Coach
Yes.
Martin. Yes, Coach
Yeah,
Martin.
that was a good time.
Um, That was a good time. I remember we had a player there. Somebody shot it from like midfield
And hit him in
and
the
hit him
face.
right in the face, broke his glasses,
I think
cut
it
him
was
up.
Lalo. I think we have him on Facebook. I
Lalo
think
Guerra.
it was
Yeah.
either Lalo Guerra or it was this other
Un
guy.
morenito de chino pelo.
Yeah, that was
I
him.
forget his name.
Oh no, Luis Flores.
Luis
Yeah, I
Flores.
think we have him here on Facebook. También Luis. I
Oh,
think it was one of those who
I
hit him right in the face.
yeah, pobrecito, man. I'll tell you what though, we opened that school, and boy, now me as an educator, like there's things that I'm like, man, I missed out as a student. But then at the same time, I'm like, man, the population was tough.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy to teach
No, no, it
that
was,
type of population because we had what was that guy? I don't know. But let's just say there was a few more fights than there should have been,
oh yeah.
and that wasn't
Yes.
cool. So now we go into we're adults,
Yes, sir.
and let's get right into it. I want to talk about a lot of things. One of the things that we're going to talk about is your opinion about Uvalde. We'll get to that in here in a little bit because you do a lot of trainings.
Yes, sir.
And because you do a lot of trainings and the Uvalde shooting, and you're a current police officer, or what do you do?
Deputy sheriff.
You're a deputy sheriff.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's talk to us about the Phoenix Consultant right off the bat.
Yeah, this is a company I created back in 2017, early 2017. Due to training, I had been teaching for about 2 years, being a police officer, and then I started teaching more constantly as
I
an
used to
instructor.
see you on the web,
Yeah, yeah, going
like
into
seminars.
yeah, going to different, which is like 11 South Texas counties
Just get a little bit closer
from
to
Bronzeville all the way to
You can move it.
Zapata, close to Corpus. So I started with this company doing that trade that I saw the needs uh, within the community, not only law enforcement, but with the civilians. And that's where Phoenix Consulting was born, was created. And we've been at it ever since. And we've grown even internationally now into Mexico. We've been blessed to have some contracts, training contracts with private sectors there at different states, about 7 states that we've been out there covering
In Mexico.
In Mexico.
So okay, so that's a big chunk, right? So
Yes.
that's a big nutshell. I'm interested in because once we get to talking a bit more your opinion and the way you approach things, so people can understand. Before you start the Phoenix Consulting, you were a
Police officer. I've been a police officer since 2009. I started as a detention officer, as a jailer in '06
here in Edinburgh.
in Edinburgh. Yes. So I was there for 2.5 years. Then I paid my own academy. I was working full time and then going part time at nights for about 10 months. I got my police officer license.
Oh, that was a rough
Oh, yeah.
10 months.
Oh yeah, it was very challenging, man. And a lot of guys, a lot of police officers, they go through the same thing. That's why some people don't understand the sacrifice that we go through, and sometimes it hurts a lot when there's like maybe black eyes. Some people make bad choices, and they label everybody as the same. There's a lot of sacrifice you got through it. So I went through the academy. I was able to graduate.
Wait, did you say? Whoa, sorry. I knew it was gonna fall. Sorry, Mendezville. My poster, $50. Do not go to display. It said they charged me like 60 per poster, and now they fall. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. So wait, did you say black guys or what'd you say?
Yeah. With bad choices, we've seen
Oh.
arrests or poor choices within the law enforcement that happens, and there's a lot of sacrifice that goes through it. And sometimes everybody gets labeled as bad police officers. Everybody gets labeled as corrupt or whatnot. And going back, there's a lot of sacrifices that go through that. Yeah.
I'll tell you what though, they really give the people a very bad rep.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we've seen it here in the valley. I mean, I know you have seen it here in the valley, and you were part of a case that we're not going to talk about today. But you're not the only one. You're not the only example. It's going around, and we can talk about that at another show. So you're a police officer. You sacrifice yourself, and then you become a police officer at where?
An agency here, a deputy. I become a deputy sheriff,
At the
local
sheriff's.
agency, yes, sir. And that's where you start seeing a lot of issues, that maybe don't come out in the television, and that's where you start seeing, learning, and going through experiences, and everything that I teach, and the instructors that work with Phoenix Consulting, we teach based on experience. It's real time knowledge through years and years of experience. That's one of the things that we want to like to reinforce or put out there, because as we speak, I'm an active deputy sheriff. I work 40 hours a week, and I go take reports. I deal with burglaries, robberies, victims of
Oh man.
sexual assault, and then I teach the same subject matter, and I teach local, state, and again I travel to other countries or Mexico and share this knowledge. And that's why I tell people, and I feel privileged and blessed to be able to prove or provide that type of experiences, because there's a lot of need out there. There's a lot of good people within the community, within law enforcement, private sectors, citizens that they need a lot of help, and sometimes it's not accessible, the pricing, and that's where we come from. Some of the courses we can do it free of charge, and some of the courses we charge a very minimal fee that would at least pay for the instructors. Again, it's not only me; I have different instructors that help me out. At least it can cover whatever fees that there is, and it's been very good. We've been very blessed. Been getting very good results, and we see forward doing more trainings, especially like now with the shootings. We've been focusing a lot on shooting drills, cases that are going to help us in reality. Because at the end of the day, yeah, we're citizens out there. When we're not police officers, I'm out in the streets. You see me on Facebook with my grandson, with my wife, my kids. We can easily be victims ourselves, and that's what we try to people prepare. And we always tell everybody, I use this: desire and opportunity equals crime. The desire is the bad guy. The people wants to rob, who wants to
The bad guy's always going to be the bad guy.
yeah, that was going to be the bad guy. But we have no control over that, right? We can't control that. The guy who wants to kill, who wants to rob, but
we don't get rid of those guys.
Yeah, no, but we provide sometimes the opportunity. We leave our handbag inside the car unlocked, or we go out to a place and we present ourselves easy targets. We don't prepare ourselves. Now here, the state of Texas, it's a open carry state. They remove the requirement of a license to carry. Anybody who's not a felon or whatnot, that's not prohibited from carrying a gun, can carry a gun as long as it's holstered. But some people don't take advantage of that. They don't train the way they're supposed to when they encounter a deadly encounter. And that's the difference between, that's what we try to provide, try to help citizens, law enforcement, survive a deadly encounter.
So with that, who do you train? How does that work?
Yeah, usually
if I want to train with you, what do I have to do as a civilian? I can train with you.
Yeah, we can. We have we develop different courses. It's for law enforcement and private sector, and for civilians as well, teachers, nurses. We focus a little bit more. It's a group, a program that we created with me and my kids. As a matter of fact, you've seen them.
I've seen them on Facebook. Yes.
So we go with live shooting. We go dry firing, and then we implement force on force, which is simulation training, like paintballs. Mm-hmm. But that's the closest you're gonna get to a real life. That's
also with the paintball part. People were shooting back and forth.
Like we're gonna give you a scenario where you're gonna be at your house. We're gonna simulate somebody's gonna try to break into your house. Somebody's trying to shoot you. We have different scenarios that we put the participant, the civilians, to take them up a little bit into what reality will look for them. How are they gonna respond? And that's what I tell people in those courses. Give you skills, knowledge, but that gives you areas of opportunity. That makes you go into your consciousness and tell you, hey, am I really ready?
Are you ready? That's a very good point.
And if you're not, I tell people, it's not to be embarrassed, but it's to identify, where do I need to work on? And that's basically what we do.
Have you ever had people that freeze?
Yeah, it happens. Again, it's physiological.
We're talking about the live shooting, right?
Live shooting
scenarios.
And again, we go, if you've never had training with handguns, I mean, you don't know how the concept of
I have no idea.
The grip, the sides, when you run out, when you're empty, when there's a malfunction, there's a jam in your weapon for whatever reason. And those are issues that are going to happen. I mean, you might have a gun, you might be able to squeeze the trigger and shoot, but what if it jams? Have you trained how to clear a jam? And this is what we try to minimize, those type of issues. We go from the basic concept, which is the grid, the sides, the trigger, the breathing, the stands, and whatnot, and we take you and build you from there. We go to drills. We do as a little bit more advanced into civilians, but we go at a low pace that's gonna get you ready, shooting from different positions, shooting when you're moving, reloading when you're moving. This is not something that's being taught at other levels. And if it does, people usually charge a lot. We try to minimize the cost on civilians, so they can be exposed to this type of training. Now, is this the training? No, but it's based on theory, reality, practice, and science. I incorporate all this into our training programs, and that's what we offer. We try again. Our main focus is, our main objective is, how can we help people be prepared in case there's a deadly encounter, surviving a deadly encounter.
So, dude, that is,
And-
you're like I'm impressed in the sense that you remind me of when I talk to coaches that we go in at it with all this science and this experience and stories and stuff, and we'll get into that here in a bit. But so now for the general audience, let's just go through. I want to because I don't know what you. I mean, I understand, but I don't understand. For example, right now, give me. For example, you said what happens if it jams? How often does a gun jam?
It all depends on the rounds. Have you cleaned it? It is bad round. It's not going to fire. What type of weapon do you have? There could be a millions of possibilities, different possibilities, but there's not many jams exact. There's a few, three that we can talk about: the stovepipe, double feed, and it's not feeding. So simple steps that you can do to fix that. But if
To avoid all that,
yeah, it's gonna happen. Sometimes it's gonna happen.
sometimes it happens.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. But if you're one, you don't
You don't have a
identify
gun
it.
with you by any chance?
I have one in my car. The one that I carry with me. It's
Okay.
we can bring it. But if you see there's a jam, right? And if
Okay.
you don't know what to do next, what good is that
No,
gun to
pues
you?
I'm dead.
You're dead. You're gonna get shot. And the way we fix that, we buy snap caps, like the dummy rounds.
Okay.
So we put the participants to a shooting exercise. So the first 2 rounds we put real life, and then we put the dummy round, and then we put 3, 4, 5 live rounds. So they're gonna be shooting, and we're not gonna tell them which
Okay.
round is the dummy one. So once they shoot, they're gonna get a jam
Oh, it jams on purpose.
on purpose.
Oh, I
So
see.
now that's what
But
we
these are
start
live rounds that they're shooting where? At a target
at a target.
while they're practicing how to unjam
All the
quickly.
concept. Yeah. You see, you're gonna take him first. You explain the jams. Hey, this is what happened. The stovepipe. This is what happened. This is how to clear it. So you build them, right? You
Mhm.
explain the components of a gun, then you build them, explain them, the components or what type of jam, how to clear
Right.
it. Now you put them into real life. Now you start shooting real live shooting,
Live.
and you expose them to a jam, and now they be able to identify. Oh, now since cause you already built them, right? You told them, they heard
Yeah.
it, they saw it, they did it, kinesthetic, right? The 3 phases of adult learning.
Right.
Well, they implement that. Now they start fixing. You'll be surprised by the end of the day how people can.
Boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
blah.
And I tell people this is just a foundation. Don't expect to go to a course or any other course and you're gonna know everything. You don't need more training. It's like anything else. We build a house. That's just a foundation.
Right.
We're building a foundation, and it's for you to build upon. Like I told my kids, everything that I do with my children, I have 4 kids. Everything I'm doing, it's building a foundation for them. I'm not building a house for them. I told them I'm building a foundation so they can build upon that.
Right.
And the same thing we try to do with citizens and those type of skills or knowledge.
Man, I'm so scared of guns, man.
Yeah, I don't know. And I tell people, check this out. Yeah, guns are bad. Bad people have committed atrocities that, yeah, just by thinking about that recent shooting we had, it breaks your heart, right? But guns in the hands of a good citizen is what stops that bad person with a gun.
because he got stopped by a gun.
Yes, I tell people.
Don't forget that he got stopped by a gun.
Yeah.
No one came in and said, talk to him. No, boom.
And unfortunately, there's going to be a situation where that's going to happen. I tell people, everybody has an opinion regarding
Right.
gun violence. I respect everybody's opinion. I just speak and train and educate and live based on what I've seen, things that I've gone through on the field, personally, professionally. And I tell people, just remember that. Yeah, guns are dangerous in the hands of the choices we make, right? Because good people make good choices. They're going to use a gun to stop. And that's what happens. If you think about it, every time a bad guy with a gun is stopped, it's because there's a good person with a gun on the other side.
I completely agree with you. I posted something, and I shouldn't have done this in the sense that time was still sensitive. I went to academy, it's daddy daycare, I'm taking my kids, whatever. And I went to go buy soccer balls. I said, you know what? Let me go show them the guns. That way they can see what a gun looks like. So we're there, and the cases are there, and there's a bunch of guns and there's shotguns. And I don't know how I said, you know what?
Oh, yeah, I saw that post.
You
Yeah,
saw that
yeah,
thing?
yeah.
So I said, you know what? Can I get the shotgun? Yeah. It was a shotgun. It's
Yeah,
for
that's
sport,
cool.
right? So it gives like, can they touch it? It's like, yeah. Just whatever you do, don't point. Maybe point towards this wall.
Yeah.
Right. Let's see. I'm on that side, right? I'm on that side. I was like, okay, cool. So then my kids grab it, and they're all stoked. They're heavy. It's a real gun.
Yeah, yes.
And so I took pictures of all three of them, and I posted it. And I know the Uvalde thing had just happened. I'm like, man, I wasn't thinking about that. And I know people are sensitive. I know my father-in-law was, and some other people. My mom calls me. She goes, "Hey, quítalo de ahí, bájalo de ahí. ¿Qué estás haciendo?" I'm like, "Mom, it's just a picture. They're guns." And I'm a believer in the sense that, and then some people started commenting, and in those political
Yes.
red versus blue threads, it's like religion, Christian, Buddhism, Muslim, they're
It's never
religions.
gonna be breaking either.
And I'm on the side that if somebody has a gun to protect themselves,
Yeah.
I guess the best way to say it is when there's a shooter of these things that are happening, most of the time they get stopped by the good guy that has the gun.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
Right.
happens. I tell people you got to see it like that. And I always tell, like anything else, you've had students, nature and nurture. That plays a huge role in the individual. There might be those 2-3%ers that they're just
It's not many. It's not many.
It's like 2 or 3%. There's some studies that I know. I've talked to different instructors, very knowledgeable individuals, and we talk about this. Very few people who genetically, by their birth, their bloodline, they're just bad. There's very few. But then a lot of kids, and you see them in schools, a lot of nature and nurture, what they go through, what they experience.
Hey, some of them go through some tough times.
And that's what
I mean, we grew up with kids like that.
Exactly.
So we grew up with kids like that.
We can go back as kids that were already committing, high profile crimes. When our age, what, 14?
We didn't realize it because we're kids.
Yeah.
And now that we're adults, your profession, my profession, we're like, hey, wait a minute.
Remember, go back
when you sit down and think about it, we saw this when we were kids. We just didn't know any better.
And we go back, kids, they're growing up 3, 4, 5, 6 years, that cognitive developmental stages, right? That you talk about when they're going, what are they learning? If a 5-year-old is learning drugs, is learning about violence,
right.
What is more likely?
They're going to be violent. They're going to be
drugs. And not everybody that exposed to that, but there's a large percentage that go through what they see. I always tell people, and when I teach, I preach, when I talk to my fellow deputies, nature and nurture has a lot to do with it. At the end of the day, what you expose to your kids, how you teach your kids about guns. If you teach your kids always being reckless, what are they going to do when they're guns? How many accidents there have been where there's weapons handled improperly and people end up getting hurt?
And that's the biggest reason I'm afraid of guns, because of the fact that I remember, here's a story. Here's my gun story for this household. So I remember me and my wife were just married, and we were building the house, and I said, you know what? Something must have happened. Back in 2015, around that area. I don't know. But I said, you know what? We need a gun. And she got me my gift certificate. Here's your $400 for a gun. I'm going to academy. And I had already seen the handguns. And I already talked to one of my fellow coaches at JD Salinas, ¿cómo se llama? Ramirez. He was in the military.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me, no, man, you got to get the Glock. The Glock. It doesn't jam. I'm like, man, no, you don't understand. We'll throw it in the sand. Don't worry. Hey, this is not a marketing. This is not a promotion. Yeah, exactly. It's not a promotion. He was just talking about it. So I'm there with the guns. I said, you know what? Let me take a walk, because I didn't feel comfortable, because I had a 3-year-old or 2-year-old, a 1-year-old, and then the baby me. And I said, I don't know. I don't feel comfortable, man, because of all these accidents.
Yes.
And then I saw a barbecue pit. That was $400.
It's the one that's outside, right?
It's the one that's outside. So I didn't buy the gun. Now I have revisited that. Is they're old enough to where I buy a safe, I buy a gun. Now let me tell you another story, and this is all just setting up the tone of why I believe that guns are okay. One of the other coaches, I go to his house once, and he has like 4 different guns in the garage. And I'm like, dude, aren't you scared that your kids are gonna get the guns? Granted, his kids are already like 13,
Yeah.
12, and a little 5-year, 8-year-old or something like that. I don't know. He goes, no. They go, no. I go, what do you mean? Aren't you afraid that they'll get it and play with it? I was like, no, because they shoot it all the time. They know what the gun is. They don't have that anxiousness, like, oh, I want to touch it so I can shoot
when
it.
that's not here, and then
Yeah, it's no. They go to the range, they've shot it. Ya se les quitó that. Oh, I want to shoot it. No, they've shot it enough to where that anxiousness is out.
yeah, right. And in my opinion and personal experience with my kids, I mean, they've been safely and reasonably handling guns since they were 4 years old. But
Really?
that's the key word: safely, reasonably, teaching them, guiding them, versus just having guns. And there you get, like you said, there's kids. Oh, kids are kids, right? Oh, what's that? They're gonna grab it. They don't know.
Right.
And us as parents, we don't know. We leave the guns with a round chamber ready to shoot because we never know. We don't know about guns. We're reckless. We always leave it like that.
Right.
So what are our kids are gonna do? They're gonna grab it. They're just pulling a trigger, and that's how accidents happen. I always tell people, and my kids, I'm very blessed. They've developed greatly, but since they were 4 years old, they've been, again, that's the key word: safely, guided, reasonably handling weapons with supervision.
Wait. So right now, if I were to go to academy to buy a gun with the new law, I pay my money and I go.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been the same process.
But there's no training.
Yeah, there's no training. You're gonna run. They're gonna run your name through the ATF and whatnot. You get cleared. They'll give you the gun. That's it. You go and go. So you have your
So
gun.
now I'm learning on my own.
Yeah, that's the things that you learn. You know how much do you know. Maybe a buddy is gonna help you out. And the choice of weapon, it varies depending on. And there's different opinions how you treat them. The rounds that you use. Have specific handguns that I have in my house that I use, but for I just personal preference. The brands, the makings that I have.
But you get issued a gun by the
By my department. I have a department.
You have one, but then you have your own.
I have my own. That's what I use for train. My handgun at work, I use it where we train it at work, and the ones that I have, one is similar, almost the same as what I have, so I train with that.
Little business expense.
Yeah, all those are business expenses. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's true.
And I use that one that I have as matter as the weapon that I purchased before and one that I bought, the same brand, same similar, and that I used to train because that's as close as I'm gonna get to when I reload, when I go.
So you're trying to buy a gun that's as closest to the one you use at work.
At work,
which makes sense.
Yeah,
right?
And I use it. The one I use at work, I use it when I go and we train at work. and since I do a lot of trainings, I use my own. I always tell people I try to use my own.
How often I had a buddy of mine. He when I started this Mendezville, he had started his podcast in San Antonio, and he had a police officer there, and they were talking about, it was during the whole Trump campaign and all this officers, beating and killing. I don't want to say innocent, but just maybe not civilians that didn't deserve to die from the hands of the police officer the way they did. It goes back and forth. There was a big thing in America. And he said, the guy that's a cop, I remember his name, that they didn't get enough trainings. How often do you guys train?
There's some, as Pertico, which regulates our licenses, we're supposed to shoot every 6 months. We do it 3 months. Our license has to be kept up every 40 hours, every 2 years, 4 years. There's cycles, units. We have to be constantly training. And that's where we come in. Sometimes we have to go a little bit off of our schedule. Sometimes put money of our own to get extra training. That's what you put in is what you're going to get. I always tell people, we sometimes have to invest. Don't expect that our agencies are going to give you all, because in reality, they're responsible for a certain amount of training.
Right.
But at the end of the day, how much more you want to be prepared that? Because remember, I tell people we're adults. Have authority to take somebody's liberty, to take somebody's life, given the situation, right? How prepared are you going to be? How prepared do you want to be when that happens? I tell everybody, and that's what we come into investing in ourselves. And we can't just expect we have to have this. If it's not given to us, we have to get more. Some agencies, remember, there's budgeting. I work at one of the biggest agencies in the state of Texas, one of the biggest counties. So
which is what, Hidalgo?
Yeah. So ours is a little bit bigger. Our academy, we have an academy of our own. We have 10, 15 instructors from the jail and from patrol, right? So
Right.
my uh, to go to a training, it's easier. It's easier for me to go to training. What about the smaller agencies,
Mm.
right? You're just a little bit challenging. The budget's less, and that's what we have to be, because they face the same dangers that we face,
Right.
right? They go through the same issues, and that's what we tell people.
I mean, we're all pretty much the same community.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, bandits, they're not gonna say, "Oh, I live here in Donna. I'm gonna stay here and victimize only the Donna community." No, these
Right.
guys, you got people who go from Donna to the west side and the east side, from
Right.
Mission all the way over there, and it's just constant. So that's why I tell people sometimes we have to invest a little bit more time, invest a little bit money into ourselves. And yeah, it's challenging because we all sometimes, it's not a big secret that we don't get paid the big dollars. Some agencies they do, but it's sometimes you just have to make that investment. Is it worth it? I tell people, just think about it. It's really worth it. When something happens serious, you need to be prepared. Not only
I'll tell you what.
physically,
When you say you don't get paid the big bucks for, I mean, you have your life, and Uvalde police officers got a lot of heat because
Mhm.
of the whole waiting and all that. And why did they go in? And we'll talk a little bit about that. But I have some feedback on that. I spoke to some military people about that, and their input and experience on that. Back to the Phoenix Consulting is. So you have a lot of experience.
Yeah.
You're on the streets weekly.
So we teach not only handguns, not only tactical, but we teach identity theft, crisis intervention, de-escalation, child abuse investigation, crime scene investigation. I certify other officers to become basic instructors, advanced instructors. It's a different variety, and then I have 8 other instructors that help me teach. Similar
Okay,
courses,
time
different
out.
courses.
Let's rewind. So I'm a civilian.
Mhm.
I want to learn how to use a gun. You can teach me in what?
The basic concept, like I told you, we usually basic concept. What is a gun? The features
Right.
of a gun.
And you teach me how to
clean it,
fire,
how to shoot,
home scenarios.
Yeah, then go to
Okay.
scenarios
Then
slowly,
you-
slowly.
Then you teach officers as well.
As well, the same
What do you
concepts.
teach? Similar.
Handguns, and then we have to remember, as per the state of Texas, we have to every 4 years, which is broken into 2 units. It's a cycle. We have to have specific trainings. So we have to have crisis intervention, de-escalation.
And you teach that through Phoenix.
I teach all those through Phoenix or through my agency. Sometimes I help out as well.
Part of your job is to do your teachings.
Yes. Well, not. I do that on separately.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I help out sometimes, but basically through Phoenix, I teach those. And usually when it's reported through my agency, those courses like identity theft, crime scene, those are free of charge. I don't charge for those.
From Phoenix or through your agency?
No, from Phoenix, because they report the it's called TICO hours, like credits to teachers or whatnot. So when you go, they have to have a lesson plan, a curriculum, everything in place, and then the academy submits those hours. So when I teach on that side, all those courses that are intermediate, basic, intermediate, and advanced courses
and you
for
teach
Texas,
that.
Yeah, I teach myself and my instructors.
And for free.
Those we do it for free.
Why?
My agency reports those hours, and we don't charge.
Oh, it's part of your.
You want to say an agreement.
I got
that it. They do their part and we do our part.
Yeah, I figured it out.
Because those are needed, and again, right. I mean, we have enough as it is as police officers. Those are the courses that are needed to keep up with our class. So I mean, I don't. I mean, I'm being blessed. It's one of the things I told people. My job, I have my salary plus whatever I do on the side. That helps me out tremendously. And
no doubt.
My wife, is helping out too. So
yeah, for sure. Congratulations on the new business.
Yeah, that has been again. That's why I tell people now. It's been, I mean, extremely blessed since that place, her salon open. It's been going good. So at least I can give a little bit.
Let's give a shout out. What's the name of the salon?
Maggie's Beauty Salon.
Maggie's Beauty Salon, located at
2 Mile Line, La Homa 13.
2 Mile Line, La Homa.
3416 North La Homa Road.
3416 North La Homa. Hey, go check it out. Go get your haircut out there. I need to go get mine because I used to go because she was there and give me a haircut, but then I had to go somewhere else. Yeah. So I got to go all the way over there. You do this. Let's talk. You're telling me about your instructors. Talk about some of the experience from your. I mean, for the people that know you on Facebook and know your background a little bit, we know your experience. Mm-hmm. You've been in the field for many years.
Yes, sir.
Just by listening to you talk, you know what you're talking about. What other instructors you have, and what is their credibility with your program or your company?
I'm very blessed with this individual that helped me out, and all of them are active. and
Active officers like you.
actors, yes. You're talking about supervisors. You're talking about combat medics, people who've been in the military, who've been in combat tours, actual special forces and whatnot. And combined, we easily
Military,
have military. Yeah,
ex-military.
there's people that
Oh, wow.
they've been out there, and we all have at least, I think, man, the person who
So
has
it's like a team effort. You're
Yeah.
you're like you created the company
Yes.
LLC, but it's like a team effort.
Yes, I have other guys that help me out. They share the same vision. I think the person who has the least amount of times is like maybe 13 years. All of them have at least 13 consecutive individually, because combined we have over 100, 150 years of experience in different fields. So that's what we able to put out there. And then when they help me out teach,
so you learn from each other.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I always tell people, I'm here to teach and I'm here to learn. I always have an open mind. We can't have that, oh, I know everything. Unfortunately, individuals out there, it is a reality. People have that, I know it all. We never stop learning. And you know that as an educator. And
right. There's different ways of doing things.
I've learned on a daily basis. I've learned from officers who just came out of the academy. I've even learned from bad guys. You get educated from different types. Yeah. But you have to have that open mind to accept, receptive to take that knowledge and put it in your pocket and your toolbox and keep going. That's the only way you're going to be successful.
It's funny you mention that, because one of the things that I talk about with coaches is, after the day is done from coaching after school, even when I coach my own kids right now and at the games, I go home and I evaluate what happened throughout the day in the trainings. I'm assuming you evaluate different situations that help you.
I try to change every time you teach a class, you learn. I ask people, I have again, open-minded approach, and that sets the tone for people to share their experiences. People want to participate.
So I'm assuming when you have a class full of cops,
and that's where you come in, the generations, you have Generation X, the millennials, you need to be able to appreciate that, use that, and
because they still bring something to the table.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's you know what you're dealing with, so you set a tone where everybody's going to be participating and everybody's going to be learning from each other.
Nice.
That's
150 years of experience
minimum.
What kind of experience do they have? You're telling me about
we have instructors from the US, and I have 2 instructors from Mexico that help me out when we go out and
that's
travel.
4 right there.
Yes.
Okay.
From Mexico. And those guys, the same thing. These guys are top of the top special forces, retired. Now they're in the private sector, and they help me out to train. So these individuals have been private security for presidents of the country of Mexico. Yeah. I mean, these guys are top notch.
So they're trained.
Yeah, these guys. Yeah, they and then I even like that. I go and learn from them, and I bring that what I learn over there over here, and from here I take it over there, and it's just it's phenomenal.
Everyone's learning.
Everybody's learning, and that's I tell me I'm very blessed.
You go train in Mexico. How often do you do that, or they call you, or how does that work?
No, usually try to go every month. We can even do Zoom trainings. We present when there's material that we can present, like classroom material. We do it in Zoom. Sometimes we go out there and we teach same thing that I teach here. They opened that company that hired me. They're very open. They want to Americanize their fleet, their personnel. Issues that de-escalation, stress management, courses, basic instructor. The same thing we certify, I teach them the same concept as I teach here a U.S. Police officer. Shooting drills, the same thing. When he goes into shooting,
I'm sure you learn a little bit from them too.
Yes, of course.
You're not going there and like they don't know anything.
No. Yes, we share a lot of knowledge. That's why I tell you, when you have that mindset, you go and not only do you teach, you educate, but you yourself are retaining a lot of knowledge.
So you're basically going in. I'm going to teach you the way we teach from my perspective. They can take it at the same time you share what they deal with and their perspective.
Yes, and usually what helps me out is the tone I set as a professional, as a human being, as an instructor. You have to keep your a specific tone where they want to learn, they're gonna accept, respect, but also they want to share, and they're not gonna be like, oh, this is an instructor that only me.
I was about to say, you don't go in there like, hey, I know everything. You're gonna learn from me.
No, I tell everybody the first things that we do is how you set that tone. Hey, we're gonna learn. This is my credibility. I show them. I tell them. They see it. When we go hands-on, I always present. If I'm going to teach you about shooting drills, how to shoot a target, I'm the first one who's going to shoot. I'm going to show you that what I teach works. That what the tactics or the skills that I've acquired that I'm teaching you, it does work. And I shoot myself. I'm going to tell you, shoot sideways, shoot facing up, run a 50-yard dash, and then shoot different drills. You're going to shoot balloons. And I'm going to do that first. And that's what sets the tone that's where they start saying like you know credibility, and then you start respect, you accept, and that's why I tell you it's important to know your audience, the learners. What do you have? What type of generations? We have veterans. We have because we're gonna have combined. It's rare that you have only a specific
Right.
generation.
Yeah.
And then when you start identifying and accepting or giving them their time, that's when everything comes into place.
Have you ever been in a situation where you go to a training and you're like, oh, you know what? I like that. And you take it with you?
Yes, all the time.
Can you
And
share something?
I always tell people every time you have something to share, bring it with you.
Like,
The,
yeah, do it
the
like
way you do a
this.
scenario.
Right.
The way you do a scenario. Sometimes I might do it a certain way, and though, but you see, you have that tone. You start off that speed, and they can catch on to it. They can run with you. And hey, you know what? What about this? And you analyze
This
it.
happened
You
to
see,
me, or
yeah,
this
they'll tell
situation?
you different scenarios. Hey, we can run this drill. What this? Because again, what I've lived, what I've experienced in my professional career, a person who just been in the service for a year can have experienced something I've never. So you see,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
and that's happened to me. I've learned from
Like, hey, 2 weeks ago I was in this situation. What do you think?
yeah, and
and-
I've learned from about 2 years ago from novice just came out maybe a year off of the academy. I learned something from that individual because I tell people you're gonna go through something I've never been through, no matter if I've been here 13, 30 years.
Right.
So that's the beauty of having that mindset of setting that tone, and you learn all the time.
Not bad. Touchy subject. Uvalde.
Yeah, it's a very tragic, like any others. I tell people, and when it comes to that, people have asked me, and obviously I wasn't there.
I'm sure
Uh,
you've gotten asked a lot. What do you think
Yes.
about that situation?
Yeah, it was a tragedy. There's a lot of misconceptions or a lot of people, I mean, facts or opinions that I don't know if it's true or whatnot. What I can say is we do train a lot through this company called Alert. I'm pretty everybody
Alert?
Alert. It's here in Texas. They teach like the active shooter. As a matter of fact, I'm a level 1 instructor and a civilian response to active shooter instructor course through them. These guys are excellent, and the main thing is when there's an active shooter, we have to go through that. Once you go, you're responding to an active shooter. Again, this is what we train. I'm not judging. I'm not giving based on
This
what
is just
happened.
your training.
What we
this is where you
basically
train.
is you gotta go and you gotta pass through. If there's an injured person, you have to pass through. Our number one goal is to go neutralize the threat, and then we're gonna start treating individuals and then evacuating. But always the threat, the goal that we've trained through, which is I mean those instructors with that company are special forces. I've trained with those individuals; they're top notch. And again, those courses. That's what we train. You have to go and neutralize the threat. If there's an active threat, you have to go and neutralize that threat. Look for it, and it's going to be your placing your life in danger. It's going to be in, and I've been in situations similar when you get a call for service. There's a guy with a gun. He's probably shooting, and man, you're praying. You're saying
What's your
last
mindset
goodbyes.
going in there, man?
Yeah, I mean anything can happen. I
The
usually
adrenaline's already start pumping.
yes, everything's you're my family. I have my kids, my wife, my grandkids, and I always make peace every time I'm going. I know it could be probably my last time, but this is why I tell people this has to be your chosen profession.
Yeah.
It's not just a job because I have a badge and a gun and I have a good looking uniform. It's a chosen profession. And unfortunately, I mean, how many officers have perished, have lost their lives
Yeah,
in a
man.
situation similar? They have to go and again, that's usually what we train for. You got to go and neutralize the threat, and that's what we go. The tools that you have on you. How much training have you had? How much training have your agency put you through? How far have you gone off to purchase extra equipment that might help you in case something comes about? I carry additional breaching tools, that can help you in case something happens. I practice maybe at least once a week. I try to go at least once a week to a range to shoot my handgun and my rifle. So we talked about earlier about physiological effects, your
Yeah.
heart rate, the Cooper color codes, white, yellow, red, gray, black, and we can talk a little bit after that. But once you go into that combat mode, you go into autopilot. And there's studies that this happened. It's been happening. All those. So when things happen,
You spoke about that earlier about Vietnam. Like it's
Studies, yeah.
recorded. in wars.
Lieutenant David Grossman has a book called in combat and killing and something and the wire mindset. They talks about it. It's documented, and I can attest to that through personal experience that I've had. I've had 2 shootings, officer involved shootings, and you go
Where you're shooting back and forth.
once back and forth, and another one I had to discharge my firearm here last year.
You have
And
to what?
discharge my firearm, and again, I can attest that it is true. You go into autopilot. You're gonna go the way you train. That's the way you're gonna respond.
Like, there's no thinking.
No,
I
you're
mean,
gonna
there
go.
is, but there isn't.
and that's where we talk about the OODA loop, the orientation, design, and whatnot. You can minimize all this by the way you train. How prepared are you? And we talked about if you're always drawing. How do you draw your gun? How do you reload? How fast can you reload? Can you shoot? Can you move? You shoot from different positions. And once you're put in that situation, you're gonna respond. Your body's gonna go back into what you put into it. Yeah, the trainings, and that's no other different way. That's the whatever you put into it. When combat comes around, that's the way you're gonna be responding. Nothing more, nothing less. How they say.
Man, I can only imagine. The here's my biggest thing. I don't know how much you can share with us in the firings that you had, and that's why I asked you if anyone had ever frozen. So we're at a Hunter Expo at the convention center here in McAllen, and they had this trailer where it was a scenario. They had a trailer. I'm sitting in a couch. I don't know how to fire a gun, so I said, "Dude, can you load it for me?" I don't even know how to load a gun.
Yeah,
because he had the clip, like 2 bullets, fake, right? And he goes, "Yeah, the gun's gonna be." I was like, "No, like I need you to load it for me. I don't know.
I never done it.
I don't know. I don't know." So he goes, "Okay, fine, we'll load it for you." So then they're knocking on the door. The guy's gonna come in. You got to shoot him. All right, cool, whatever. Guy knocks, ta 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 ta, and you can see in the feet, the shadow on the feet, right? And I knew it was a practice. It was all fake, and I still like, holy crap! I'm gonna have to shoot this guy. He's gonna come in. I gotta get the gun. All fake, and I'm still freaking out. It's a real gun, fake bullets. So I'm like, "Hey, stop right there! I have a gun." Right? This scenario. I feel all like, I don't even know how to explain it. So I'm like, "Okay, I get the gun. I have a gun." And the guy comes in. Of course, he's wearing a mask, a vest, puts his knife up like this, and I aim and I shoot him. I got him right here, right? I'm a pretty good shot, I guess. I don't know, lucky shots, but I got him. But then the guy, and I asked the guy, I said, "Do people freeze?" He goes, "Dude, all the time."
Yeah.
He goes, "They won't shoot him." He goes, "The guy will come and he'll literally grab them, and technically you're dead at that point in time. And it's a fake gun, and they still won't shoot." I can only imagine. I was freaking out. You're going to a real situation. The training that it takes for you to be on autopilot and be efficient and effective.
And it's confidence. Training, skills, knowledge gives you the confidence to say, "Okay, here we go. You're good to go." But if you never train, you're never prepared. You don't know your tools. You don't know how am I going to go? You're
right.
The physiological effect is there because we're all human beings. Our heart rate, remember, slowing, pumping, fine motor skills are going out the window.
Right.
But it's confidence, knowledge, training, skills. That's what gives you the confidence. That's what's helped me. Again, I can attest to. Last week had situations similar. In the last 6 months, had different type of situations where you're going, and then, but that's what happens. The confidence. Once you get there, you start seeing, visualizing, putting things apart. What I'm going to do, start directing, and that's why I tell people that I can attest that knowledge, skills, training. That's what gives you that confidence, that ability to perform, to go, because we're already behind the curve. We got to go hit the curve,
right?
And that's what starts giving you. I use a concept of removing the negative milliseconds and putting them on the positive side by the way you train, by the way you move, even by moving, by walking your hips, human biomechanics, implementing the way you move, minimizing all that type of moving, the stress in your muscles. Because I teach about that when we go to the shooting range. I even tell the civilians the way you stand, the way you walk, minimizing the stress. All those factors are going to play a huge role once you go into a situation that is going to be a deadly encounter.
For people that aren't aware or don't have your experience, how close are movie scenes to what you go through?
No, it's not
even close.
Not even close. Not even close. Things go bad, and then they did.
Because you're watching a movie, you're like, "Oh, I could do that, or I would do this, or I would do that."
Yeah, I remember when you shoot somebody, they're not necessarily going to go down immediately like in movies, especially.
Yeah.
And there's that misconception of a person with a gun and a knife. Those can be very deadly knife encounters. How fast they can close distances and whatnot. How many times does a knife have to be reloaded? 0. A person can stab you 100 times within a minute or whatnot.
Right.
That depends.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's it. So there's a lot of issues that training plays a huge role. And I always tell people go to different scenarios, go to different type of trainings. There are different trainers here doing what we do, as we do. Like Valor, retired Chief Juan Gonzalez from San Juan PD. That guy's phenomenal. Jose Acuña from South Texas. pistoleros. It's the same concept. We go out and help out. We train. We teach.
Who are these guys you just mentioned?
They're trainers. They're instructors.
With you?
No, they have
They have
their
their
own,
own.
Their own. But that's why I tell the people you have to go and experience, go out, not necessarily fitness consulting. Go out and take advantage of this individuals because it's very few people that go out and put in that sacrifice. You put a course, you go out there, expose yourself, and help out. Having that desire that you want to help, make a change, make a difference. The reality, it's skills that are going to help you save your life, the life of your son, your daughter, your granddaughter. And I think it's very well worth investing that time. Because necessarily it's not always going to be charged, not always monetary, but most of the time it's going to be time consuming. But like I tell people, how much do you value your life, the life of your loved ones? How much are you prepared when things go south?
Absolutely. So let's talk about how we get in contact with you and how that works, the actual process. What is your website or how do they contact you?
Yeah, I have. You can call me at my number or through my
So
Facebook
it's
account.
called Phoenix
Consulting.
Hold on, give me a second. Let me spell this bad boy out. Phoenix Consulting Group.
You can go through. Let me put it for you. It's Phoenix Consulting Training and Advising.
Hold on.
Let me show it to you here
Right
on
back.
my.
There you go. Phoenix Consulting Group. I have it already. People, look, you can see it up there. It's Phoenix Consulting Group. They can see it. Is there anything else I need to add?
Aquí está, mira.
What do you want me to add? So people
Phoenix
see it?
Consulting Training and Advising.
And that's through what?
That's my company, Phoenix Consulting Training and Advising.
On
That's
Facebook or-
on Facebook or through
Do you have a website?
Yeah, my website is right here. I think I had texted it to you.
I just type them up as on the whim.
Here. That's the website.
It's I don't see it where. Oh, down there. Okay. www.phoenix/consulting. What is that? Dot or dot online?
Consulting.online dash.
Online / Got it. All right, that way you can see it. Here we go. There it is. www.phoenix/consulting.online. And that way they go, whoa, what happened here? Oh, sorry. Okay. So we talked about your experience, your philosophy. Uvalde we didn't talk a lot about, and I don't think we should, in the sense that there's so many opinions. We weren't there.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
mean-
usually try to stay away from that. And when they ask me, I usually give them what we train, and I always tell people we need to be prepared. How prepared, and it goes not only for the police, but for educators, for civilians, for families, for husbands, wives. Everybody has to be on the same page. Like any other issue within the community, it's a joint responsibility.
Here's $1 million question, or not $1 million question, but the connection I really wanted to ask you, and I know La Jolla is doing this. Do you believe that schools need at least 1 or 2 officers or securities with a gun?
I strongly believe yes, and they have to be followed with training. I tell people
So if you're gonna have them,
you have to be
you make sure you're gonna continue. It's not just buy a car and don't put gas in it.
exactly.
You gotta maintain.
How
it.
good is that going to be? We talked about I'm going to give you a gun without bullets,
Well,
or you can have a gun with jams, and they're not prepared. Because remember, how good is it to have a gun if you don't know how to use it? How good is it to have an officer? Yeah, they have a gun and a badge, but we know that bad people don't respect a gun and a badge, a
Right.
uniform. If whoever has their mindset to go and neutral kill and terrorize and
Right.
make this destroy lives, they're going to do it. That's why we okay. You want to put armed officers or personnel? It's good, but we have to be properly trained. Not only them, but what about inside the schools? How are they preparing? How are the students being educated or put into that page? Right? Because it's when something happens, everybody's part of it. And what's the response? Sometimes, by the time officers, no matter how fast you get there, sometimes people are already going to be losing their lives. And that's why some courses, some trainers, they focus on educating the teachers, the students, drills, and whatnot. Every student might not be the same, but at least you're preparing. You have something. Once something goes south, something happens, you can start. Remember that autopilot? That's where you're going to go to. At least you're already a little bit ahead.
Like that takes over.
Yeah, that takes over a little bit.
Extent.
To a certain extent. Yeah, and of course, like I tell people, even when you're in SWAT, you do train, you prepare for a no-knock search warrant, and once you go and breach a house, there's a monkey range or two, and then everything changes.
Right.
And you have to adapt. But at least you're already, at the level where you can make an observation and adapt and overcome.
I was talking to one of the officers at a school district, and he said this. and I'm saying it to you so you could give us some feedback. He said, "You have to understand, Rudy." He goes, "Most of the officers in this Uvalde situation, and I'm not commenting opinion. This is just him taking." He said, "Take these things into consideration." And this is more for how to implement things at La Jolla ISD or any ISD that has police officers. He goes, if there's an active shooter, most of the time those active shooters come in with a rifle. We can call them assault rifles, whatever. They're rifles, assault rifles, sure, why not? AR-15 or whatever it might be. He goes, if you give me, and this guy had military background, he goes, I will bet you my salary that 99.9% of the time, you get 10 cops with handguns and you give me a rifle, an AR-15, I will win almost every single one of them. Because I have a rifle long distance, they're outside the school, you come in, I have a higher chance of executing all the cops that are coming with handguns. His point of that story was, one, like you and me, is we need officers at every campus. But at the same time, we got to have the correct weapons or tools, which is a handgun and a rifle and a vehicle or somewhere where, hey, I have my gun. If you have an AR-15, well, I need an AR-15 myself to kind of even out the playing field. Was he way off, or is he speaking?
It all depends. You go back to training. If you have 5-6 officers never been trained and there's an active shooter going and all they have is guns, they have to go in there.
Handguns.
Yeah, handguns. I mean, they're gonna go in there. How is it their approach?
But
how
sometimes
much
they don't.
Yeah,
that gets a little tricky.
If all they have is a handgun, right? Remember, how much training do they have? How are they going to make the approach? How are they going to make the entry? Are they just going to go in running and running around with a handgun? You know, it's right. You have a rifle, it's going to overcome a handgun. But look at that shooting that we had in Texas, 3-4 years ago. That Prophet, it was like an art. There was a 60-some-year-old man with a Glock, a 45 Glock.
Yeah, took care of
it. Took care of the guys with rifles, armored piercing armored vest, and he had a handgun and the guys had rifles.
So it just depends.
It all depends. Yeah, if you're gonna just be running straight and the guy's shooting and it all depends on how much training. Right. And again, every situation is gonna be different, but if you know somebody's shooting and you're gonna make approach, how much training have you had in approaches, entries, and clearing rooms? Right? Because you go into a room, it could be a center fed room, a corner fed, the doors, right? How are you going to enter? You're going to go to the known unknown. How are you going to go in? How do you have any training? You're just going to go in and looking, and you didn't check a corner, which was the unknown, because you can see that's called known. What you can see, what you can't see is the unknown. And instead of going the opposite side, because you have a more possibility of encountering somebody and being able to fire back, you don't know that that's a better entrance. Approach, you're gonna get shot, you're gonna get killed, right? You see?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So in a way he might be right, but it has to boil down to the training, the tactics, the knowledge, and the mindset. That individual, hey, we gotta go.
No matter what, we're in consensus of schools need officers with guns.
Yes, and train.
But with the understanding that if you're gonna have officers with guns, they got to make sure they have continued training. And this is not once a year. This is monthly.
At least 3 times, at least in my opinion, at minimum every 3 months.
Every 3 months.
And not only handguns, we have to stop the bleeding. A lot of people who pass away because they bled out.
I've seen that on your post.
Yeah,
you have that stuff.
The first aid. There's a bunch of retired sergeant from the sheriff's office, Daniel Fuentes. He teaches that the trauma, the stop the bleed, and those are. There's a bunch of people who teach that. The tourniquets, hemorrhage bandages, simple
save the life
tools. They'll save your life. And that's why I tell people, how much investment are you going to put? You can buy a tourniquet, a cat tourniquet at Amazon, $30-$40. I heard Israeli bandage for $15-$20, probably less. But knowing how to apply it, it's like any other tool, right?
Yeah,
you have a tourniquet, but you don't know how to apply it, who to apply it. The bandage, the same thing. Yeah, I mean, you're dead.
Right.
So there's things like that I tell people that's the importance. As we try to put, that's why I tell you, fitness consulting, the instructors that we have, the people that we work with or that we network, is that same mindset, saving lives, having people ready and prepared, not only law enforcement but the civilian private sector as well.
How often do you go home knowing you saved a life?
At least I try to do that on a daily basis, but once you go, maybe a suicidal individual, maybe somebody who you almost shot him or he almost shot you, it could have ended different ways, you talked him out of it. It's
Stressful.
stressful, and it's constant. Sometimes our call volume, it's very high. At least I go out. I get at least the minimum 5 or 6 reports, documentary reports on a daily basis, and some of those could be a simple reports, incidents, but then it could be offenses, high crimes, and again, not only me, right? It's the whole law enforcement community.
Right.
Everybody goes through similar situations.
I guess the reason I'm asking you right now is so people can understand that yes, there's been some bad apples on the news,
Hmm.
whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, what the stress level that you guys go through, give us, like if you can go through your daily mindset, like your schedule.
And usually with experience, you start minimizing. You learn how to minimize that. I wake up in the mornings when like it's my shift. I wake up and either I get on my computer to do my, if I'm working on a lesson plan, I'm sending emails for a training. I'm dealing with my family, my grandson, my kids, and then I start getting ready for work. I do this a lot, and I recommend people turn on the switch on and off. I'm home. 110%.
That's it.
Yeah, I do my trainings. I go to, if I'm taking classes or whatnot. Once I put my uniform, I turn on the switch.
That's it.
I'm
It's
a
on.
police officer. I'm a human being. And, we can save lives, not necessarily shooting people and not
Right.
necessarily putting them in jail, but taking your time, giving that advice that's going to help them long term. I tell people when I go out there, I talk to them, I listen to their issues, their problems. I tell them, look, I'm here 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. This is the best advice that I can give you. If you follow it, take what's best for you because you're at the long term. This is your life. But if you take that 5-10 minutes extra to talk to them, it's like I use an empty table concept. You go to a call and that person has nothing in front of them. It's an empty table, right?
Right.
And
Hold on, give me a second. Let me take this off the banner. Hi, banner. All right, here we go. Let's see if you can see that.
So you go to a call, right? I'm a
Right.
officer. I'm working a shift. I go to a call and I don't, you care. This is your chosen profession. You want to, how can you save a life? You go to a call and there's a person and you get your females or males who've been into disputes. They don't have their immigration status here is illegally, and they get threatened with that a lot.
Right.
You start giving them choices. Hey, but you know what? There's Mujeres Unidas. You know what? You can do this. There's legal aid. Maybe there's just different agents that can help you out. Now you start setting things in front of the victim, either men or females. Because I tell people you have a victim, you have a witness, and you have a suspect. That's all you have to look at. When you go to calls, a victim, a witness, and a suspect. That you'll never go biased with that. I always look for that. So you start putting those in front of them. So now I'm a human being. I call the police for help. Once I see, okay, so maybe I don't need this, but I need this. I need this. So when I leave, what impact have I put on them?
You give them tools.
That's gonna help them long term. And that's why I try to do on a daily basis. That's how I tell people saving lives is it can go different ways. That's why I tell people take your time, help as much as you can, give those guidances because you never know what people are going through. And that 5 extra minutes is gonna go a lifetime.
Yes, I completely agree with you. And I'm glad you shared that because saving lives doesn't mean you kill the bad guy or you put a bad guy in jail. Just you help someone move forward in their own life.
Exactly. And some people you'll be surprised. The worst, and I'm gonna put it the worst call for service I've gone to in my career. The worst call that I've gone to, call for service that I've responded is a 8.5-month pregnant female. She was beaten so bad, she was covered in blood. Her hands were deformed. They hit her with un mezquite, un leño. She got beaten with that. That's the worst. And I've been through, I've seen body parts. I've seen, and I guess the impact on me was the lady was upset at her 10-year-old son because he called the police. She was upset at him. Mind you, she's been beaten, the worst beating you could ever.
Your opinion, in my opinion, would be the son did the right thing.
Yes,
the son did the right thing.
So she was upset, and she was upset because he called the cops because the suspect had always threatened her for years. She had endured abuse, and he would tell her, "You say something, I'm gonna call Border Patrol."
And he held that over.
She held that. She was This
she was so scared.
That's the worst beating I ever had, and this was maybe in 2010.
Man,
and you should think about how many victims. And again, we have victims, witnesses, and suspects. It's not him or her. It's just in general. But how much do they endure? That's why I tell people even 5 minutes, some guidance. Once you give them something, versus an empty table.
Right.
Now there's something to grab on. It's going to help him get out of that, overcome the obstacle. And that's tremendous. We get those calls on daily basis.
That's intense, man.
Yeah.
What's the most? So I'm assuming that wasn't dangerous. It was just bad what you saw.
Yes, the nature of I guess of the more I guess what stuck to me was that she was upset at her son. Mind you, she's broken. Her hands
Right.
are. I mean, EMS got the ambulance. They were like, "Whoa." She had
What the hell
a
happened
blanket
here?
covered in blood. She takes off the blanket. They take off the blanket.
Poor thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess that's what the biggest impact was. That like mind you, your hands are deformed. She wouldn't like that. Wasn't even her complaint. It was, ¿por qué le hablaste a la policía, mijo? Like with that, she was upset at her son.
Right.
I guess that was.
And
That's
I'm sure that happens a lot where people don't know.
Yes.
Don't call the cops. Don't call the cops.
And statistics are made out of what? Reports of information, data that's written, document. How much of it
It's not getting reported.
Yeah, I want to say, and it's probably just me, maybe a 20-30% goes unreported based on what I've seen, or it could be off or off. But I know for a fact that crime,
it's not 100%.
Yeah, crime goes unreported.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, and that's when you start taking your time going out there. People start like, there's a way out, and they start coming out, and that's how you start minimizing that crime, that victimization.
I'm glad you said there's a way out, and being an educator is sometimes, now it's for people watching out there, there's got to be a way we teach kids that there is a way out.
Yeah.
Because you found your way.
Yeah.
I found my way. Plenty of guys find their way. I mean, I had Juan Muñiz here on the show. He found his way, and then plenty, different.
And that's why I told people what you've lived through. I too, man. Some of this.
I mean, not just say that yours was bad, mine was bad, or Juan was bad. It's just,
but
you find a way.
And I use that as an example. Believe it or not, I tell people, I mean, when I was growing up, it was pretty bad. I'm blessed that I'm still here. God bless me. That's a purpose. I was left here for a purpose. And I use that. That's why I take my time. That's why I put a little bit more effort. Some people ask me, I've had some personal issues professionally, but when I see juveniles my age, I go back. I always go back to me. That was me. I see myself. You probably remember me. Those that know me, that even see me and looking like, man, you're a police officer. Man, I'm glad.
Yeah.
They're kind of like, man, you're a police officer. And that helps you. That gives you
I see police, I was like, well, how did, not you, I'm like, how did this guy become a cop?
Yeah.
Or different professions, like, what? But you're young. You
and
don't know. Your brain's
that's
not
what
fully
gives you an
developed yet.
edge. That's what gives you a heart to understand that maybe he doesn't need to go to jail. Maybe there's something going on. Maybe you need to take a little bit, few more minutes and ask what's going on. Maybe you can give some advice. Maybe you can lead him to a better path. And I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I've seen people who are like, hey, sir, ¿te acuerdas de mí? Like, hey, I'm going to college already. And man, when that happens,
feel good.
Oh, that's one of the greatest satisfaction as a professional. When you see that, you hear that, like, man, and I've had them on social media. I've had a large amount of individuals that I've dealt with, and they they become successful, and they same as we did.
How cool is that? To be successful, to make it out, it's a good feeling in it, and then to repay. Because the way you said, you always, it's funny you mentioned that, because that's the way I coach. I coach and like, what did I need? What would have helped me? And that's the way I approach it.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, so let me ask you this. Watch this. Now watch this. So I was talking to this coach one time. And I said, Coach, in our program, this is me, just a round table. It was just me and her, actually. I said, in our program, would you send your kid, son or daughter, to our program? Forget the school and academics. Our athletic program and the way you work towards our kids. Would you want your son or daughter in your program? She goes, wow, Coach, I never thought about it like that. Don't get me wrong. She's a great coach.
Yeah.
But I said, but that's the way I approach it. What I want, when I don't approach it the way my kids, I approach it the way I would help myself. When I would say, what I want me, or would I benefit, 13-year-old Rudy Mendez, would I benefit from the way I teach him athletically?
Yeah.
And I think it goes a long way when you put yourself in those shoes, because you were in those shoes.
Yes, exactly.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah, that helps you, understand, empathize.
Right. Yeah, right? Empathize. Yeah.
Yeah, because you see, hey, I remember, and you go back, I was there, what he was going through. What was this helped me out. Now you can help out. Similar. And when you have, and you can go back, we're human beings. When you have somebody, it takes the time. And I've had people even go like kind of like, whoa, like you're taking your time to talk to me. Yeah, and then even their demeanor, the way they change, and I sometimes do follow-ups, and it's everything. It's different.
Catch them
Yeah,
off guard.
yeah. You go out there patrol or whatnot, and I like to sometimes go into follow-ups or whatnot every now and then, depending on the situation. But it's because it's rewarding to know that somebody you made an impact. That what you went through life, those struggles,
Yeah.
for you understand why you went through those. God placed you through those, so you could help other people. I tell people
Absolutely.
that's the only thing. I was placed in this earth for a purpose, and all glory to God. And I hope I'm not gonna say I'm the perfect person, the perfect husband, the perfect officer. I'm not. I make mistakes, but one thing I'm for sure that I like to help people, and the mistakes we made, and what we build upon ourselves, and all the experiences and knowledge. I think it's good to pass it on to other people.
Absolutely. So now passing on to other people, how so people call you back to the Phoenix. People call you. You set a date, 2 3 day training. Or
Yeah,
it
usually
varies. How does
it
that work?
varies depending on the demands and the needs of the individuals. It can do 4 hour, 6 hour, 8 hour a
I'm
day,
assuming the
2 days.
longer. I'm assuming the longer ones are like agency stuff. No?
Agencies, yeah, we have 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. I think I haven't done more than 5 days.
And then
Uh,
straight.
Straight, yeah, like
Oh snap!
yeah, there's courses like the crime scene investigation is 5 days. The basic and advanced instructor certifications that I teach, those are 5 days. The child abuse investigation course is 3 days. There's different intermediate arrest, search, and seizure, those are 2 days. Other courses,
And
it
these
depends.
are what you're talking about is specifically for
Police officers.
police officers.
Those are the basic,
For different
intermediate,
agencies.
and advanced courses that officers need to continue their education for their certificates to go. Because
Okay.
as police officer, we have a basic license, intermediate, advanced, and master's peace officers. So in order to get to those, you need service. You could use military. You could use education,
Right.
but you need training, specific classes, and those are some of that I
Also,
teach.
that's where you come in to help them with
Yeah, I
those
can
hours
teach.
and certificates.
Yeah, other agencies, other departments teach it, and I do the same thing. And usually, what I do, I try to accommodate on their schedules or whatnot. Or I go to them, and then I teach.
When you go to Mexico, you've been to Mexico? Is that the only country?
Country so far, yes, we're here.
You weren't in Colombia?
We're going to Colombia. I think they called me for what was the other, Spain, I believe. They're outreaching. We're in the works. España.
Ya me contigo.
Yeah, so
I love
we're in
that
the works
place.
on those two. But Mexico, we've been to Monterrey, Saltillo, Oaxaca, La Paz, Cabos, and El DF. Next week I'm going to El DF. And again, this is a company that has over 300 employees. They have armed bodyguards. They have security guards. They have personnel. I teach it to administrators. So I do safety assessments. I go to where they work. We look at their operations, and we identify any areas of opportunity. We give an opinion, and we teach classes. The same thing. The same thing I teach. I take my rosters, evaluations, exams, everything, PowerPoints, lesson plans.
Right.
The same thing I teach here. I take it. I just do it in Spanish.
Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, it's the same thing.
Did you ever get stuck with English or Spanish, or pretty
No.
fluid?
No, it's very fluent.
Yeah.
Probably more English than anything. I have the Espanol. When I was in the works.
I get stuck when I go to Spanish.
No, when I was I'm the other way around. So when I was in the works of this contract, they were like, "Hey, but they want you to teach in Spanish." I was like, "That's a piece of cake, even better
Yeah.
for me." Like,
Yeah.
we always joke around here in the U.S. that, hey, I can only teach when I teach a class to break the ice. I'm like, hey guys, just so you can know, the first 2 hours is English, because then after that, put español porque se me acaba. That's a good icebreaker.
Right,
Everybody,
right.
hey, blah, blah. And so, but yeah, that's when I go out there. It's as if I'm teaching here.
So then agencies reach out to you. They call you. Hey, yeah,
Different
you book 'em.
courses, you
Boom.
book them,
Here's how
and
much I charge, whatever it might be. Where does the civilian come in?
the civilian the same way. They can call me and say, okay, we need this course. Like, so an example, a church pastor called me from Sullivan last week. We're gonna meet either this Sunday or next week. He wants some training because they have some armed individuals that they've gone through the LTC, but they want some training. So okay, I get with them. So basically, with him, I'll go and I do like an evaluation of the building. I look for areas of exit or whatnot.
Right.
Where's the closest hospital? What type of tools do they have?
So you're gonna be on site.
On site. You
for
go
the
on site
trainings.
for those. Yeah, we can do it at a shooting range. We can do maybe a classroom, a lesson course, depending on what they need, what they want. I tell them, this is what I have. What do you need? I analyze. We make a discussion. We make an opinion, and they say, yeah, that's what we need, and we'll go with it.
Nice.
And it can be handguns. It can be like identity theft courses for civilians, sexual assault prevention, theft, issues that can help civilians, not only law enforcement, juvenile issues, parenting issues, substance abuse, anger management. We have different programs that can help out the community.
Man, it's just so many things that people just really don't think about. We just take all these things for granted, not
Yeah.
knowing that so many people go through a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, it's again, it's just, and there's not many people out there that have given it. It is a challenge, but I think it's very well worth it. I tell people it's well worth it, and again, it's a foundation that I'm leaving for my kids and for other people. It's not something that I'm building. It's just a foundation, no walls, nothing. It's upon them. They got to build the rest.
Nice. So you're currently with the sheriff's office.
I'm a deputy. I'm a
Deputy,
and I teach for Phoenix Consulting.
and you're in it
I'm in it
every day.
Every day. I just got my associates in law enforcement.
No
from
way.
Yeah, and just this past month, and I'm gonna start my bachelor's.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm gonna start my bachelor's and on they're in SEC también. My bachelor's on management and operations management.
Nice, man.
Yeah, so I'm very well rounded in the field, and I want to be very well rounded in administrations as well.
You also ran, just totally off subject. We weren't supposed to talk about this. I didn't prep for it. I just thought about it right now. You ran for, what was it again?
Constable Precinct 3 here in Hidalgo.
Constable Precinct 3. And that's how we reconnected. I was like, man, I was in the political stuff at that time, which I don't want to do again, but it's so, I just want to get back in and get some more podcasts on there, but it gets tricky. But could you talk to us a little bit about that? Do you feel comfortable talking about just your experience?
Yeah, it was a good experience. You met a lot of good people. You learned things that you should have done differently in different
from
approaches.
the campaign aspect.
And the campaign aspect, yes. And as long as you run a good campaign, I never insulted the other
right
incumbent. I told people we're gonna run a clean campaign. My wife, my kids were a big part of it, and as long as we put out the vision that we have, that's all it is. And whatever happens.
So you had a vision. You want to implement the vision.
Yeah,
that's
and
what you want to run.
Don't based on that. Don't go off and start insulting other people and start getting into and just stay focused. No matter what happens, no matter what goes your way, we're gonna stay straight, and that's what we ran. And the
would you do it again, or you're retired?
No. I found that I have more impact in what I'm doing right now.
Right.
That's what I want to do. I'm about 7 years that I can retire from the sheriff's office, and then I want to keep teaching. I give more of an impact on what I do right now. I reach out to more people. What I'm doing right now. Plus, I'll be booked the next 2-3 years. Hoping my kids, they want to go to the Marines.
Oh,
so
really?
We're in the we had a 10-year goal. We developed the plans. We broke it up in 2 years. So we're in the last phase right now. The last 2 years. My oldest already graduated. My oldest boy, he graduated from high school, and the others is going to be a junior. So in the next 2-3 years, they're going to be shipping off.
They're going to go together.
That's the biggest dream. They
be together.
Go together to the military since they were like 6 years old, the chiquitos, and they told me, and they've stuck to that. I want to do.
Wow.
And that's what you want to do. I hope you guys. So right now, that's why people have asked me, like, I think I have more of an impact what I'm doing. Plus, I have a commitment with my kids, and and I get my grandkids. I have one grandkid.
Congratulations!
I got 2 more grandkids coming in. The business of my wife. I was like, I feel satisfied that what I'm doing, the trainings, my work on a daily basis. I feel confident or satisfied that I'm giving it 110%.
Man, Miguel, thank you so much. Hey, you know what? Congratulations on being a grandfather. Thank you for being on the show. I'm running. Is there anything else you want to add?
No. Again, I tell people, civilians, I have to go out there, be prepared. You have to be prepared. The more you train, that's the way you're going to respond. I'm not telling you to go with Phoenix Consulting. There's a bunch of trainers, a lot of agencies, individuals. Go out there and then be prepared. Remember the way you train. That's the way you're going to respond. Remember that autopilot, that physiological, we're all human beings. That's the way you're going to respond. Like I tell people, civilize the mind, but make savage the body. That you'll never go wrong with that.
Like a t-shirt.
Yeah. No, I got a patch coming in, a technical patch. That's think about it. Civilize your mind, be professional, be a human being, be respectful, but make savage your body, mean that you're ready, you're prepared. You have to go to war, you have to go fight, you're going to go fight.
It's ready.
Yeah, remember, evil is always going to be there. There's no better fire that
Right.
So I tell people that's the motto I adopted. Civilize. If you look at my website, you'll see it. Civilize the mind, but make savage the body.
I like it.
Yeah.
Miguel, thank you so much.
Thank you, man. God bless you.
Really appreciate it. Hey, Mendezville Live. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Miguel Flores, Phoenix Consulting Online. Check it out. Call him. Hire him. Later.